Have you ever walked into a room and felt an invisible weight press against your spirit? You couldn't see the war, but you could feel it. That's not imagination. That's atmosphere. Witchcraft doesn't always knock on your door wearing a cloak. It enters quietly through people, places, and even energy. But what if I told you the clothes you wear could be your armor? That certain colors carry divine authority, spiritual memory, and heavenly vibration. These are not fashion choices. They're weapons of war. And when chosen with purpose, they can disrupt every assignment of darkness. Color is not just visual, it's spiritual language. God created color before man ever understood style. From the rainbow of covenant to the blue of heaven's throne room, color was coded with power. And in every spiritual realm, from ancient warfare to modern warfare, garments had meaning. Witchcraft recognizes this, which is why witches wear certain colors to invoke certain spirits. But here's what most people miss: heaven does too. The kingdom of light has its own color code. And when you align with it, you shift atmospheres. You don't just walk, you wage war with your presence. The first anointed color is white, not just for purity, but for dominion. White is the color of light, clarity, and divine order. When you wear white, you're not just dressing up, you're declaring alignment with heaven. Witchcraft thrives in confusion and chaos. But white pierces confusion with clarity. It silences accusation with authority. It announces, I stand in righteousness, and no dark power has access to me. That's why white garments were used in ancient temple rituals, because they repelled defilement. When darkness tries to touch you in white, it bounces off. You become untouchable, not because of fabric, but because of frequency. The second anointed color is red, bold, fierce, unapologetic. Red is the color of the blood covenant. When you wear red, you're not just making a statement, you're reminding every demon that the blood still speaks. Red declares war on witchcraft. It cuts. It cuts. The enemy hates red because it can't counterfeit the blood. When red walks into a space, spirits retreat, because red is not just a color, it's a covering. It says, I know who paid the price for my protection. It declares that no hex, no chant, no dark gaze can override the bloodline you carry. The third color is blue, deep, royal, heavenly. Blue is not passive, it's prophetic. It's the color of divine revelation and heavenly communication. In the tabernacle, blue was used for the curtains and garments of the priests. Why? Because blue represents authority from above. When you wear blue, you're walking under open heaven. You're declaring, I don't just move by instinct, I move by instruction. Witchcraft feeds on ignorance. But blue attracts insight. Blue protects your mind, guards your thoughts, and connects your spirit to God's whisper. When blue is on you, confusion cannot find you. Then comes purple, the fourth anointed color. The color of royalty, kingship, and inheritance. Witchcraft often works through intimidation. It wants to shrink you, to make you forget who you are. But purple awakens identity. When you wear purple, you're saying, I'm not a victim, I'm a vessel of divine dominion. Purple doesn't beg for attention, it carries it. It doesn't need approval, it commands it. Wearing purple reminds every dark force that you've been seated in heavenly places, that your authority isn't borrowed, it's born, and no hex can survive where royal presence walks. Fifth is gold, bright, majestic, weighty. Gold represents glory, wisdom, and divine wealth. When witches try to rob, to drain, or to attack your favor, gold defends. It repels spiritual poverty. It blocks emotional theft. Gold says, I'm covered in glory and I lack nothing. When you wear gold, you're not boasting in status, you're manifesting abundance, not just financial, but spiritual overflow. Gold is heaven's reminder that you are not living in scarcity, you are walking in supply. And where there is glory, there is no room for oppression. Gold blinds the enemy. It reflects the light he can't stand. Lastly, the sixth anointed color is black. Yes, black, often misunderstood, often feared. But black, when consecrated, is the color of mystery, depth, and divine concealment. Not everything anointed must shine. Some things must be hidden to be protected. Black can become your spiritual camouflage. When worn with intention, it confuses the enemy. It says, you can't track me, I'm covered. I'm protected. I'm hidden in the shadow of the Almighty. Black doesn't mean darkness, it means depth. It is the unseen oil that flows beneath the surface. When witchcraft tries to locate you, black says, not today. These six colors are more than shades, they're shields, more than style, they are statements. When you wear them with faith, prayer, and purpose, they activate unseen realms. You don't need to live afraid of curses, attacks, or evil eyes. You were born with authority. But authority must be worn, not just spoken. Put on the garment of light. Dress with divine intention. And wherever your feet walk, let your colors preach. You are not just clothed, you are covered. And when you wear heaven's palette, hell has to back down. Because light isn't something you hope for, it's something you wear. You walk into a room and something feels off. No words are spoken, but your spirit senses resistance. That isn't imagination, it's spiritual reality. Witchcraft doesn't always manifest as rituals or curses. Sometimes it hides intention, stares, and emotional heaviness. It manipulates the invisible atmosphere to unsettle your soul. But what many forget is this: your presence carries its own charge. And what you wear has the power to interrupt what darkness is trying to construct. When you align your clothing with spiritual intention, you carry the authority to reset the environment. Your garment becomes a declaration. Witchcraft feeds off weakness and confusion, but when your energy speaks clarity through what you wear, you push back the fog. Your outfit is not just style, it's a symbol, a signal, a covering. You're not dressing for approval, you're dressing for battle. And when your clothing matches your calling, darkness loses its grip. Your wardrobe can speak before you ever open your mouth. And when it speaks alignment with heaven, witchcraft cannot endure your atmosphere. Colors are not just pretty, they're powerful. They were spoken into existence before man ever touched fabric. God infused the earth with color as a spiritual language. Each one carries vibration, meaning, and memory. Red seas parted, blue skies declared order, white robes were worn by priests, and rainbows were signs of covenant. The enemy knows the spiritual code of colors and mimics it for his agenda. Witches and spiritual manipulators use color intentionally, but they're not the only ones who can. You have access to heaven's palette. When you put on a color aligned with truth, you're not just wearing pigment, you're wearing prophecy. The spiritual realm recognizes these codes. Color is one of the oldest ways God marked his presence. When you clothe yourself in alignment with God's light-coded blueprint, you shift the unseen. You're not being superstitious, you're being strategic. Heaven speaks through symbols, and color is one of its loudest. Dress with awareness. Because when you step into a space wearing the language of light, darkness trembles in silence. White isn't just clean, it's commanding. It represents clarity, righteousness, and authority. When you wear white, you carry the presence of alignment. You're announcing order, not just fashion. In ancient temples, priests wore white to signify purity and connection with the divine. But purity isn't weakness, it's power. Witchcraft operates through defilement and distortion. It looks for cracks in your peace and confusion in your mind. But white repels that by declaring there's no access here. White isn't empty, it's full of light. It's heaven's way of illuminating everything that tries to hide. It blinds the enemy. It exposes falsehood. It brings structure to spiritual chaos. When you put on white with intention, you become a walking signal of divine presence. Not because of the cloth, but because of the consciousness. You are reminding darkness that your soul is aligned with purity and no spirit of corruption can stick. It's not a color you wear to blend in, it's one you wear to stand apart. And when you do, you stand in unstoppable clarity. Red is more than bold, it's blood. It carries memory, covenant, and spiritual weight. Every drop of Christ's sacrifice carries authority over every form of darkness. When you wear red, you're reminding the spirit realm that the blood still speaks louder than any curse. Red isn't about rebellion, it's about redemption. The enemy hates red because it reminds him of defeat. It reminds him of the moment he lost jurisdiction over your soul. When red enters the room, it cuts through the air. It pushes against X's, repels attacks, and guards your spiritual gates. Red is not just worn, it's invoked. It's an outward symbol of an inward covenant. When witches attempt to infiltrate your energy, red stands as a blood-covered wall. It declares you're sealed, secured, and shielded. This isn't about emotion, it's about eternal protection. When you wear red with faith, you stir up ancient authority. You declare that no weapon formed will prosper. Because the blood was shed for moments like these to protect you when you don't see the war coming. Blue is the color of divine communication. It is the color of the sky expansive, unshaken, eternal. In the tabernacle, blue covered holy spaces and priestly robes. Why? because blue connects heaven to earth. It represents instruction, revelation, and divine authority. Witchcraft thrives in ignorance and emotional fog, but blue clears the atmosphere. It aligns your mind with truth and clarity. When you wear blue, you're not just styling, you're tuning your spirit. It invites heavenly insight and silences mental warfare. It guards your thoughts like a shield. Blue doesn't scream, it speaks with calm power. It anchors your emotions while elevating your discernment. When everything feels noisy, wear blue. When your thoughts are under attack, wear blue. When you need to hear God more clearly, wear blue. It's not magic, it's memory. Heaven remembers blue. And when you wear it, you remind yourself that you don't operate by reaction, you move by revelation. In a world full of distraction, blue locks you into divine direction. Purple isn't just royal, it's revelatory. It was once reserved for kings and priests because it carried the frequency of rulership. Purple says, I know who I am. Witchcraft attacks often begin by trying to convince you that you're powerless. If it can steal your identity, it can manipulate your reality. But purple shuts that lie down. It reminds your soul that you've been seated in heavenly places with spiritual dominion. When you wear purple, you walk with the confidence of inheritance. You're not just hoping for protection, you're declaring your bloodline. Royal doesn't mean arrogant, it means authorized. Purple doesn't demand, it confirms. It breaks the spell of smallness. It removes the illusion of fear. Purple aligns you with kingdom posture. You're not wearing it to impress, you're wearing it to remember that the one who called you also crowned you. And no spiritual force has the right to challenge a child of the king. When you walk into a room in purple, you don't chase darkness out, you simply remind it that it doesn't belong. Gold reflects more than light, it reflects glory. It shines even in darkness. It's the color of wealth, wisdom, and divine presence. In scripture, gold filled the tabernacle, the ark, and the temple of Solomon. Not because of luxury, but because of legacy. Gold carries weight. Not just material, but spiritual. Witchcraft attacks are designed to rob, steal, and reduce. But gold says, I lack nothing. It's not about status, it's about supply. When you wear gold with purpose, you declare abundance in every realm, spiritual, emotional, mental. You block lack. You cancel spiritual drought. You radiate the evidence of divine favor. Gold doesn't just shine, it blinds the enemy. It reflects the glory that cannot be touched. When you wear gold, you remind spirits of poverty that you are not accessible. You are seated in overflow, covered by eternal provision. And when you carry the frequency of glory, no curse can deplete you. You don't chase wealth, you wear the reminder that already lies within you. Lack has been misunderstood for generations. People fear it, avoid it, or wrongly associate it with darkness. But in its consecrated form, black becomes a sacred hiding place. It is the color of mystery, divine concealment, and holy depth. Not everything from God is loud and visible. Some anointing must be hidden to remain protected. Witchcraft cannot attack what it cannot find. And when you wear black with spiritual intention, you become hidden in plain sight. You don't disappear, you become untouchable. Black absorbs, it guards, it conceals what is sacred. You are not hiding from fear, you're covered by wisdom. Sometimes God protects his most powerful vessels by placing them in seasons of spiritual invisibility. Black is not a color of evil, it is a cloak of mystery. It protects your movements from unnecessary exposure. When you wear it with awareness, you move in stealth, in silence, in spiritual strategy. The enemy can't target what's veiled in God's shadow. Black doesn't make you small, it makes you strategic. You're not unseen, you're safeguarded. Witchcraft watches. It studies your choices, your routines, your expressions. And yes, even your colors. Just as you are observed in spirit, you can signal in spirit. Witchcraft recognizes codes because it uses them. But so does heaven. The enemy has his own palette designed to seduce, confuse, and deceive. But the kingdom of God created the original. You have access to the anointed version. Every time you dress with intention, you are broadcasting a frequency, a signal that says, I am covered, I am aware, I am guarded. When you use colors aligned with your spiritual posture, you release disruption to enemy strategies. You shift atmospheres without a word. The enemy's code is broken the moment heaven's code is applied. Don't let your wardrobe be random, let it be righteous. What you wear can fight for you before you even speak. The battle is not only in what you say, but in how you show up. And when you show up clothed in wisdom, witchcraft can't read your frequency. It only knows one thing: it must retreat. Clothes are not just cloth, they're spiritual declarations. Every piece you put on carries energy. You're either covering yourself in awareness or leaving yourself exposed by accident. When you dress with spiritual intelligence, your wardrobe becomes armor. It's not about looking good, it's about living guarded. Your garments can carry oil if chosen with faith. Witchcraft does not wait for weakness, it looks for spiritual laziness. But when you choose color, fabric, and form with divine alignment, you're telling the unseen realm, I am present. I am covered. I am not to be touched. Your clothing becomes a force field, not because of material, but because of mindset. God has always used garments as symbols, from Joseph's coat to priestly robes to garments of praise. When you honor your dressing as part of your defense, you walk with more than style, you walk in protection. You're not just putting on clothes, you're putting on clarity, confidence, and covenant. And when you wear what heaven recognizes, hell becomes nervous before you even arrive. Every color carries its own kind of shield, but together they form an army. One color may speak peace, another may speak power. One may protect your thoughts, another may protect your authority. But when you understand that each color is a spiritual shield and you begin to wear them with purpose, you create a hedge the enemy cannot penetrate. You're no longer dressing casually, you're dressing prophetically. Every time you step out of your home, your body becomes a message. Your colors become codes. Your walk becomes warfare. These aren't random shades, they're armor. These aren't fashion statements, they're spiritual strategies. Witchcraft doesn't just flee from your prayers, it flees from your awareness. When you know what you're wearing and why, you start controlling the spiritual air around you. You start walking into rooms that were once hostile or watching peace settle in. Not because you shouted, but because your presence began to prophesy. You are dressed in light. You are wrapped in divine layers. And when that happens, you don't just survive attacks, you cancel them on arrival. When the enemy cannot hear you speak, it tries to read your presence. And what you wear says more than you realize. Colors preach. They declare. They announce to every spiritual force, this one is covered. Colors bypass the need for conversation. A woman dressed in red and gold may not say a word, but everything around her knows there is authority in the room. A man walking in white and blue may not speak in tongues, but the atmosphere recognizes him as a vessel of order and revelation. Your colors speak in the language of frequency, and everything spiritual responds to frequency. What you wear either invites warfare or repels it. Either you walk in open territory, you walk shielded in sacred hue. God designed colors to speak, but you must choose to wear them in faith. The language of your wardrobe can crush strongholds or allow them, so make it speak for you. Let your outfit declare what your mouth doesn't have to. Because when your colors carry light, your presence becomes a command. Heaven doesn't respond to confusion, it responds to alignment. Even in what you wear, heaven honors those who understand spiritual symbolism. When you wear with purpose, you partner with the spiritual language of God. You remind the earth and every unseen thing in it that you belong to another realm. That your protection does not come from luck or talent, it comes from covenant. That your garment isn't just style, it's structure. It's alignment with an order higher than anything witchcraft can produce. You don't blend in with the chaos, you cut through it with intention. Your wardrobe becomes part of your worship. You don't dress for attention, you dress for access. Access to peace, access to discernment, access to presence. When your external reflects your internal authority, heaven moves with you. God honors symbols that are tied to truth. And when you use colors as carriers of truth, your entire being becomes a tabernacle, a mobile sanctuary, a prophetic walk that commands light wherever it goes. Dressing in spiritual awareness isn't vanity, it's victory. Every time you choose colors aligned with heaven, you take back power from witchcraft and place it where it belongs. You are not walking aimlessly, you are walking armed. You are stepping into spaces as a symbol of truth. And truth doesn't whisper, it announces. It says, this body, this soul, this space is under heaven's authority. Darkness doesn't always respond to noise, it responds to presence. Your colors can carry that presence. They can announce light without a sermon. They can declare fire without a prayer. Because they represent something deeper, your alignment with a kingdom that cannot be shaken. You weren't called to dress for attention. You were called to dress in awareness. Not to impress man, but to confront the unseen. Witchcraft cannot operate where divine garments are activated. So every time you get dressed, ask heaven what it wants to say. Because when you wear what the Spirit affirms, you walk in a confidence that no evil can counterfeit. The war is already won, but how you show up determines whether you enforce that victory. You don't need to wait for attacks to get serious about your defense. Start with what you wear. Start by dressing as someone who understands what they carry. The colors on your body are not for the world to applaud. They are for the spirit realm to recognize. You are a vessel, a moving altar, a walking declaration of the unseen power within. Let your colors speak when your voice is quiet. Let them push back forces you don't even see. Wear them with authority, with faith, with full awareness that you are not alone. Every thread, every shade, every hue can be anointed when it's chosen by revelation. This isn't religion, it's revelation. God still speaks through symbols. And he still uses people who are willing to walk boldly. So when you put on white, red, blue, purple, gold, or black, do it with purpose. Let every garment you wear say what your spirit already knows. No weapon formed against me shall prosper.